Hey guys, Peter here to tell you about the latest from 1914 where Fear and Weapons met out October 22nd on Napalm Records. This album has 11 tracks, 63 minutes in length, and this is the band's third full-length studio album. They are an Ukrainian black and death doom metal band. As far as structures are concerned, this is their strongest album to date. It's just perfect in how they put it all together. Intro, outro, nothing new. A song in the middle called Coward that really breaks the record into two separate and quite different halves. And then you have the absolute sense of continuity from the first all the way to the last track. No pauses, no breaks. Coward perhaps is the only pause, the only break, but everything else is moving and is moving in a fluid motion, almost linear at times, really connecting the songs well musically, thematically, and even atmospherically. So you're looking at different sides of one coin, and you're looking at different layers that really push the listener in the same direction, at the same pace, with the same intent, with the same final destination outline in front of you, so you understand exactly what you're getting yourself into. You look at the length of the record, and the length doesn't matter. It's not about how much time you have to invest in the record. It's about the experience that the record offers back at you. Once you get into the soundscape, the album offers perhaps more diversity than what we've seen in previous albums. You see that diversity in some of the song constructions. You see some diversity in terms of the soundscape that the songs have, pushing more towards the traditional death metal sound and not necessarily that combination of death metal and doom metal with that blanket of black metal on top of it. That's really the DNA of the band. You're also going to see that diversity in a song like Coward, something completely different, something that really breaks the record and breaks away from everything that we've seen from this band. You're also going to see diversity in the samples. You're also going to see diversity in the orchestrations that they used in the first half of this record. So there's a lot for the listener to digest. There's a lot of different layers, there's a lot of different approaches, a lot of different soundscapes, but the DNA of the band really stays intact throughout. They added new elements, they enriched the overall experience, that made the sound of this album feel a little bit more complete, a little bit more mature, not as raw as previous albums, perhaps a little bit better defined as well. The production is much better, and it really helps the overall design of this record, and because of all of this, the album feels bigger, it feels more powerful, even cinematic at times, specifically in the songs that use orchestrations. They took the storytelling from the gutters of the trenches and they took it into the movie theaters, making those songs feel like a pure cinematic representation of the story that they're telling you. I haven't seen that before, and I really enjoyed it because it matches really well and allows the album from a soundscape perspective to have ebbs and flows, which is really important so that it doesn't become repetitive, it doesn't become a little bit predictable song in and song out. Now, as far as the soundscape elements outside of the orchestrations, outside of some of the driven elements of the songs, there are things on this record that worked really well, and perhaps there's one or two elements that felt a little bit outside, or that felt like they could have been more complete all around. And to me, the one that really stands out is the samples. I felt like there was too much of it on the first half of the record and not enough of it in the second half of the album. I understand the purpose behind them, because you want to create a sense of for the listener, a sense of being present within the story that's being told. You want the listener to feel engaged. You want the stories to come to life. You really want to place them in a specific spot in time, and for that they work well. But I felt like there were a little bit too much of them, and they muddied the waters ever so slightly and took a little bit away from the songs themselves. And then you have the second half of the album, which I felt like didn't have enough of them to really compensate for everything that we saw in the first half. The divide becomes a little bit more clear from that perspective. As far as strength is concerned, the drums and guitars are definitely the cornerstones of this album. The drums are just so powerful, they have so much strength, and they really become the baseline, they really become the foundation of the entire album. I just love the machine gun approach that they have in certain songs, really bringing the storytelling to life and really making you feel like you're present there, that you're in that moment just with the sound that they're creating. Very warm, very robust, not flat at all, having a lot of life in them. Same thing about the guitars. The DNA of the band is still there. That ability to create a gritty, direct sound, and at the same time being melodic and having a little bit of a melancholic vibe. All of those elements are there. I felt that on this record the guitars perhaps sounded better, they were better defined, the parameters were better, easier to understand, and they went in different routes depending on where they were within the songs and within the record itself. So overall the execution guitar-wise on this album, in my opinion, had a larger outlook, not just thinking about the songs themselves, but also thinking about where is the theme going and where's the atmosphere gonna go and what can we do to help it get there. Because of that, the overall perception for me as far as guitars goes is that they were just overall better executed, better integrated in the overall theme and the overall sound of the album itself. The vocals are magnificent. I mean, you have some guest vocalists that adds a different vibe, that adds a different feel, and I really enjoyed that. That was also something that I felt that added value, that added quality to the overall experience. If it wasn't there, the album would still be as strong as it is, but having it there is kind of the cherry on top. It makes things feel a little bit more complete, makes things feel a little bit better all around. But the vocals by Dimitar are just absolutely magnificent. He has this raspiness, it has this delivery, this sense of pain, this sense of direction, really bringing the lyrics to life, but also bringing the atmosphere of the songs into full effect, like bringing them into your face, bringing them into your life, and you can almost feel the pain, you can almost feel the suffering, you can almost feel the images coming into real 3D perspective in front of you, just by the way he tells the stories, just by the way he uses his voice. Absolutely magnificent from top to bottom, super consistent, and really the glue that holds the whole record together and allows the first half of the album to be slightly different sound-wise from the second half of the album. Overall, this is their best album to date. A lot of bands out there tell you stories of war, they tell you stories of heroes and battles, but they tell it from a place that it doesn't really allow the listener to feel completely immersed and connected with it. These guys, 1914, with an album like this, you actually feel like you're there. You feel like you're a part of the story itself. You feel it in the sound, you feel it in the music, you feel it in the atmosphere, you feel it in the lyrics and the vocals. Every single element of this record is there for these stories to become reality and not just another song on another record. As far as favorite songs are concerned, I want to start off with Vimy Ridge. I mean, I had to pick this. You have Canadian content, part of the storytelling aspect of Vimy Ridge. I obviously have to pick this as one of my favorite songs. The drums are thunderous, heavy, thick guitar riffs as well, so the two really matching, really becoming the backbone of the song itself, really pushing the song forward with a lot of aggression, with a lot of power. The vocals help define the track a little bit better. They create a little bit parameters within the song, and then the overall atmosphere has a very direct impact on how you perceive this track. Removing some layers, adding some layers. Overall, this is more almost of a death metal driven song. It doesn't have as much of the doom side or even the blackened side as I would expect coming in. The song kind of stood out because it felt more direct, it felt more brutal, it felt more aggressive almost from the get-go. Killer guitars, killer drums, those are the backbones, those are the lifelines of this record, and then you have a punchy, heavy track all around with absolutely haunting vocals. Next you have Don't Tread on Me, a song about Harlem, Hellfighters. Really interesting track, penetrating, unmistakable riff. When you listen to the riff that starts off this song, you know you're listening to 1914. It has their DNA stamped all over it. It's what we've heard before and we're just hearing it again. That allows the song to feel very connected, very melancholic, darker, heavier, more powerful in the verses, perhaps more direct in the verses, and then a little bit more melancholic, a little bit more melodic as it moves into the chorus. I like that change because you see that change happening musically and you see slight impacts vocally as well between the two. This makes the song feel a little bit better. It makes the song feel a little bit more complete. It gives it ebbs and flows, still being very robust, but giving it ebbs and flows, and overall that makes the song more engaging and more dynamic, more interesting all around. Last but not least, I have to talk about Coward. This is an acoustic, folky track, for a lack of a better definition, featuring Sacha Bull of Me and That Man. A song that actually fits more with Me and That Man than it does with 1914. This track completely had me paused on my path down the line as I was enjoying the album. I was not expecting a song like this to be on this record. It feels completely out of place at first glance, and then the more you listen to it and the more you realize it fits the overall design of the album, it fits the construction of the record, it gives a necessary break within the album, it helps the atmosphere of the record, and sonically is super pleasing. Vocally as well. Clean vocals, melodic, haunting, folky, acoustic, with harmonica. Just absolutely perfect song all around. But like I said, a song that at first glance for the listener and for the fans of 1914 is going to feel like it's completely out of place. You have to give it some time, you have to really enjoy it and not see it as a standalone track, but rather as a piece of the much larger puzzle, which is the complete album. This is it, 1914, Where Fear and Weapons Met, out October 22nd on Napalm Records. Let me know your thoughts on the band, on the singles. Use the comment section below. I'll be reading those and getting back to you. Take care, guys.